Wisdom it is. All righty. Wisdom it is. Welcome to wisdom. Ah, l'chaim v'bracha. Oh, goes down just like water. Oh, it is water. The Tzemach Tzedek, the third Lubavitcher Rebbe, he used to drink a cup of water before davening every morning. And one day, his helper brought it to him every morning. One day, his helper came over and says, Rebbe, I'm very sorry. I made a mistake. I poured you a cup of vodka, not water today. She says, I was wondering why the davening, the prayers were so good today. So what's amazing about that story? What's amazing about that story? Huh? That water and vodka were the same for him. That's what's amazing, right? The water and vodka it went down for him the same way. He didn't even realize. He didn't realize now, one person who won't realize it is someone who's completely a shikar, right? A drunk, right? A drunk won't know the difference between the vodka and the water that he's drinking at some point, right? It'll be all the same. But that was not the case over here, right? So that was not the case. In other words, he worked upon himself to such a degree that taste he didn't have. It's a famous story with his grandfather, the Alter Rebbe, right? The author of Tanya, right? They were having Aaron Karliner, a big righteous, holy individual coming for a meal, and everybody in the house wanted to be a part of the mitzvah, right? They wanted, actually, like the story of Korach, actually, right? 250 men want to be Kohen Gadol, so each one of them wanted to take care of the guest, and there was a big debate in the kitchen between the Alter Rebbe's wife, Shena Sarah, and the daughter. I don't know which daughter it was, because the daughter had taken over the kitchen. She was older. She had taken over the kitchen, and she said, "Well, I'm the one who's always in the kitchen, so it should be my right to do it." And she, against her mother, right? Mother saying that, well, yeah, but I'm the woman of the house, right? So I should be the one who's gonna make the meal and serve and so on, right? So they took the issue to the father, to the Alter Rebbe, the husband. What should they do?
His wife.
Huh?
Deferred to his wife, had to be.
So he said, since it's her kitchen, she should do it, but she shouldn't put salt into the food. You put the salt in, because putting the salt in is like making the food. Without the salt, doesn't have a taste. Doesn't have a taste, right? Doesn't have a taste. So you'll put the salt in. Now, so you know what happened? So his wife, she'd made the food, but since what's normal when you make food? You put salt in, so she put salt in. Like not thinking.
No,
so of course, then the daughter came and salted it. But then the Alter Rebbe also came because he wanted to have a part of the mitzvah. So then it was served. The soup was served, and so Rabbi Karliner took from the soup. He couldn't. It was like it was soup. It was soup with salt, not salt with soup. He couldn't eat it, and the Alter Rebbe was eating it away. So finally, he asked him, "Why aren't you eating?" He says, "Well, you taste it. It's very salty." He says, "Then he tastes it. Oh, you're right." Then it came out what happened. Everybody added salt, right? So he said that when I came to the Mizitcher Magid, and he came to the Mizitcher Magid, he was 18 or 19, 18 years old or something like that. I worked upon myself that I should not have taste from food. I should have taste from food. He worked on himself.
It's for substance.
Huh?
For substance.
Yeah, that I should not only that I should eat for sustenance. That's but that's one thing. But not to have taste is another thing, right? That's even more so. Anyways, interesting story. L'chaim, l'chaim v'bracha. So, what is this?
Your dreams.
Actually, I was at a wedding last night, and the father of the chassan was coming around and giving l'chaim out, right? And he gave l'chaim. I took it. Oh, I couldn't. So on Shabbos it goes down like nothing, but during the week, yeah, a little bit was too much already. All right, welcome to Tanya Today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zich and Kadesh in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. After all, the Alter Rebbe is sharing with us Tanya. We are in chapter 9 in Shar Yechaveh Emunah, and understanding and appreciating what is the unity and the faith that we have. What is our faith? What does it mean, the unity of God? What does it mean, God as creator within creation? So, Alter Rebbe explains like this: 5 degrees of separation. Interesting idea, which within us is, right? Where does the quality of the person begin? Where does your quality begin? Chachma, wisdom, right? Wisdom, intelligence. And in intelligence, Chachma is the higher element, right? Chachma, that comes being a Midas, right? So, correct? And God, how does he make the world? He made the world through wisdom. He makes the world through wisdom. And therefore, in every little thing, from a blettel, from a leaf, a little leaf, you could see divine wisdom in a leaf, right? A grain of sand, you see divine wisdom in a grain of sand, in everything. Yet, to God, that's considered like action. What does that mean? Let's think for a moment. My intelligence, your intelligence, all of our intelligence, right? That's a metaphor to appreciate what the statement was just made. It feeds what?
Yeah.
Huh?
Bina?
Your intelligence in general. What?
Thoughts or actions?
No. Our emotions. Our emotions, right? Why do you feel what you feel? Because you have a perspective on it in the way you perspective. So if you see what you're experiencing right now, that your cup is half empty, then you're going to feel about it that there's something you feel not so full, not so good, right? If you see what you're experiencing is your cup is full, not half full, but full, you're going to feel uplifted in your heart. You're going to feel, right, warm and fuzzy and so on and so forth, right? So here's 1 degree of separation from your intelligence that feeds the way you perceive and the way you feel. Your perception is much greater. Why? Because then that's what's feeding your emotional disposition, right? So it's incomparable, your intelligence compared to your feelings. Your intelligence it's intelligence compared to a feeling is like in the heart is just there's no awareness, there's no intelligence to it, right? I mean, we spoke about EQ, emotional intelligence, but the life force that's in intelligence is much greater than the life force that is in our emotions, right? Now, let's go from there, from the emotions. What does that feed?
Actions?
No. Your thoughts. What's the proof? When you have strong feelings about something, you'll think about it. When you have no feelings about something, you won't ever think about it, right? So you have strong feelings about baking. You have strong feelings about, whatever it is in life. That's going to bring you to think about it. Whether you're going to think about it in a positive way, negative way, right? Whatever it is, but the strong feelings lead to your thoughts, right? They lead to your thoughts. Now, your feelings are much more powerful than the thoughts that come as a result, right? Because the thoughts are in language and feelings are beyond language and lead to thought. It emerges from there. So the life force that's in your thoughts is much less than the life force that is in the feelings, right? Now, where does your speech come from? Your thoughts, right? It's also incomparable. That's why we never stop thinking, but speaking is a time to think, a time to speak, and time not to speak, right? Um, why? Because the life force in your thoughts is incomparable compared to the life force that's in your speech. I'm not talking about the value here. I'm not talking about the value of something. We're talking about the the life of it, the life force of it, right? So the life force of speech is much less than the life force that is in thought, right? Much less. And it's much more powerful in your thought. That's why your thoughts can be also so, stream of consciousness, because it's so powerful. It's hard to harness it because it's so strong, right? It's hard to harness your thoughts. That's why you got to speak things out. By speaking things out, you harness it. You bring sequence, much greater sequence to it, much greater understanding to it ultimately, right? Why? Because it's so much less of a life force, so that you're able to harness it, right? You're able to harness it. Again, we're talking about in one comparable to the other, so it's much less of a life force. And then finally, action. It's even less of a life force, right? It's even separate from us, right? You do an act like here. I did an action. I moved the cup. What kind of life force is that compared to my power of speech? Power of speech is much more vital. And not value, because it could be one action that's much more valuable than all the words you say, right? You can say, I love you, I love you, I love you, but don't act upon it. We're not talking about the value of the thing. We're talking about the life force that the capability of doing the thing. So an action, a baby does an action. A baby, pushes the ball. It didn't take any intelligence, didn't take any EQ, any emotional intelligence. It didn't take any real thought behind it, right? It was a simple action, because an action is the least form of vitality that is an expression of the soul. So we have 5 degrees of separation, right? Action is the lowest.
Because it needs the other 4 to happen.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is a progression.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, we're not talking about value. We're not talking about the value of it, because in the end, action is the most important thing, right? To take action. Right? So we're not talking about that. We're talking about the force within the soul to be able to do the thing. So to be able to have intelligence is the greatest thing. Self-awareness is the greatest. Then emotions, thought, speech, action, right? 5 degrees of separation. So by God, in what do we say? He made the world through wisdom. By him, his wisdom and his action is like the same thing relative to him. Divine in wisdom and divine action before God himself It's like the same thing. No distinction. By us, there's 5 degrees of separation. By God, there isn't any degree of separation, if you will. Why? Because his intelligence and his word are all bound up in one perfect unity with him. By us, they're not a perfect unity, right? What's the proof? Just because I know that my cup is completely full, right? I might know that. Will that necessarily bring a good feeling in my heart? No, because there might be other things that will impede, right? That impede. Well, if I have a good feeling in my heart, does that mean I'm going to think in a good, healthy way? Not necessarily. Other things can also come up into your mind that are not healthy things that we think, right? And so on and so forth. Why? How's that possible? Because it's not perfectly united with us. We're a compound of things, and therefore it could, and it could not, right? Therefore, that's where choice ultimately comes from. But by God, his divine wisdom and his action are bound up with him as one. Hi, is that clear?
Unity.
It's in the middle of a thought, which we will continue that thought. Any questions? Any comments?
What are the 5 degrees?
Intelligence, emotions, thought, speech, action.
You know, we don't have that unity, but we can kind of get it assembled.
No, we have it as a compound.
Yep.
So it is a part of us.
Yeah.
Our intelligence is a part of us. Our emotions are a part of us. Our thoughts are a part of us, right? But they're not in a perfect unity with us, which is something hard. Which is something that we really can't comprehend. Therefore, how is it in a perfect unity and one with God, in a perfect simplistic whole oneness, to such a degree that divine wisdom and divine action are one and the same thing.
Wait, put love after emotion.
Why do you think what you think? Thoughts is not intelligence. You don't have to necessarily think intelligently, right? But you think about the things that you have strong emotions about. You'll think a lot about. If you have no strong emotions, right? You have a store and you have strong emotions about the store, right? Based on, your perspective on things. Tomorrow,
God willing. You all think.
Tagesund, right? So based on that strong emotion, you're thinking about it a lot. So what led to your thinking is your emotions, nothing, right? Not anything else. What led to your emotions is your perspective on it. You may not feel about it the way you feel about it if you changed your perspective on it, which is your intelligence, right? If you change your perspective, then maybe you won't feel the way you feel. Maybe you won't feel that it's such a bad thing. If you change, maybe you're going to feel that it's a wonderful thing. Opening a new door, new opportunity, right? But that's if you perceive it differently. Then you'll feel it differently, and then you'll think about it differently. We have to remember that our intelligence is not thinking. Intelligence is intelligence. Thinking is thinking. You can have someone who's got a very high IQ, but he thinks about foolish, childish things. Just because you have a high IQ doesn't mean you think about intelligent things, right? You could have a lower IQ, but yet your mind is always full of Torah knowledge. You're thinking it, right? So intelligence and thinking are not the same thing. That's where the confusion sometimes gets in, right?
And we call it the 5 degrees of.
Separations.
If we look at the Sefirot, where is intelligence in the Sefirot skill?
The top 3. Chachma, Bina, V'das. In the head.
So if
The right arm is, right now we're going down. The right arm is chesed. Left arm is gvura. The body is tiferes. The right leg is netzach. The left leg is hod. The reproductive organ is yisod. And the power of speech is malchus.
So where is thoughts in that sense?
It's not. Why would it be there?
Because we're talking about the five.
It's not a sphera. It's a lavush. It's a garment. It's not a sphera. Right? It's a garment of expression. It's not the soul. It's not the soul. It's not the person. The person is made up of intelligence and emotions. What we think is, and what we say and what we do is a garment of self-expression, but it's not the person themselves. Just like your garments are not you, right? A lot more on that. All right, Rambam coming up, folks.